Okay, we've all been there. You have that one big, important thing you know you should be doing, but for some reason you just can't. That's procrastination. And you know what? It's not just some bad habit. It's actually a full-on battle happening inside your brain. So let's unpack what's really going on.
Seriously, ever have a huge deadline breathing down your neck, but you find yourself alphabetizing your spice rack instead? Or, I don't know, deep cleaning the remote control? It feels completely ridiculous, right? But believe it or not, there's a very real, very scientific reason why our brains do this.
So here's the big takeaway right up front. This isn't a character flaw. It's not about being lazy or undisciplined. It is literally a battle for control happening inside your brain. And the cool part is, once you understand who's fighting and why, you can actually start to tip the scales in your favor.
All right, first things first, we have got to get this idea out of our heads that this is just about being lazy. Because it's not. The real story is way more fascinating and honestly makes a lot more sense.
So, if we look at the actual definition, procrastination is the voluntary delay of something, even though you know there are going to be negative consequences. And that word, voluntary, is huge. It means we are actively choosing to do this knowing it's probably going to bite us later. How crazy is that? It's a total paradox.
You see, it's this gap between what we intend to do and what we actually do. And this is why it's not a time management problem, it's an emotional regulation problem. Think about it. When a task makes us feel stressed or bored or anxious, our brain's immediate reaction is to just make the bad feeling go away. And the easiest way to do that? Avoid the task.
Okay, so if this is a battle, who exactly is fighting? Well, let's pop the hood and meet the two main players who are duking it out inside your brain every single time you face one of those dreaded tasks. In one corner, we've got the prefrontal cortex. Let's call it the planner. This is the sophisticated, rational part of your brain. It thinks about the future, makes smart decisions, and it's where your self-control comes from. And in the other corner, we have the limbic system, which we'll call the pleasure seeker. This part is, well, it's more primitive. It's all about emotions, instinct, and most importantly, getting an immediate reward right now.
And here's where the fight happens. When you're staring down a difficult, stressful task, the pleasure seeker just freaks out. It feels that discomfort and basically hits the big red panic button. It screams, "Get me out of here! I want to feel good now!" And a lot of the time, its cry for instant relief is so loud that it just completely drowns out the calm, rational voice of the planner.
So what exactly gives the pleasure seeker all this power? What is it about certain tasks that makes our brain just want to nope right out of there?
Well, it's really any of these things. If a task is just plain boring, or super stressful and difficult, or if you're worried you might fail, all of these things create negative emotions. And for the pleasure seeker, those feelings are like a green light to jump in and take control to save you from the discomfort. And if we look at the data, you can see how this plays out. Stress and anxiety are the biggest culprits, making up about 40% of the reason we procrastinate. But look at this. Perfectionism and just a general dislike for the task or task aversion are right up there too. These are all incredibly powerful emotional triggers.
This whole process creates something called the dopamine trap. And it's super simple, but also super powerful. Step 1. You face a task you don't like. Step 2. You switch to something easy and fun like scrolling through your phone. Step 3. Your brain gets a little hit of a feel-good chemical called dopamine. And boom! Step 4. Your brain just learned that avoiding the unpleasant task leads to a reward. It's a trap.
Now, when you fall into that dopamine trap over and over again, something happens. It stops being a conscious choice, and it becomes a habit, an automatic loop that your brain runs without you even thinking about it.
See, every habit works in a 3-step cycle. First, there's a trigger. In this case, that yucky feeling from an unpleasant task. Then comes the routine. You delay, you switch to something else. And finally, the reward. You get a moment of relief from that negative feeling. That relief, even though it's temporary, is what cements the habit in place. It's the glue.
And the more your brain runs that loop, the stronger and more automatic that connection becomes. It's like your brain carves out a superhighway. The trigger is discomfort, and the automatic exit is avoidance. After a while, you don't even think about it anymore. It's just your brain's default setting.
Okay, but here is the most important part. And it's really good news. You are not stuck with this. Because procrastination is a learned habit, it can be unlearned. You can actually get in there and start rewiring your brain's default system.
And the goal here isn't to get rid of the pleasure seeker. I mean, that's what makes us enjoy things.
The real goal is to give the planner the advantage, to strengthen that prefrontal cortex so it has a fighting chance to win the battle more often.
So how do we do that? Well, research gives us some pretty clear strategies. The planner loves clarity and structure. So you take that giant, intimidating task and you break it down into teeny, tiny, manageable steps. Something so small it's not scary. You make your deadlines visible. You track your progress. Each little step you complete gives you a small win, and that gives you a little dopamine hit. You're basically tricking the pleasure seeker into getting its reward for doing the right thing.
So, now you know the science behind it. Procrastination isn't some moral failing. It's just your brain's clumsy attempt to cope with difficult emotions. And by understanding this battle between your planner and your pleasure seeker, you can stop beating yourself up and start working with your brain, not against it. So the question is, what's the first small step you're going to take?